So thank you guys for joining us for our first ever Boxing Ontario Virtuals meetup. Today's situation will change the world. Actually, as we know, it's already changed the world moving forward. And once we're allowed to go back to whatever the new normal is, things will need to be very well communicated. And I think there's going to be quite a few protocols that we're actually working on with the board right now and with other countries. I'm not sure how some of the, and Chris might be able to update on what they're doing over in Great Britain. But I know that there's going to be many protocols as we move forward. It's already having an impact on our boxing clubs here in our province, including one of Boxing Ontario's iconic clubs, Atlas Boxing, who've had to close their doors until better times come around. And we know that they'll reopen back up again. But again, as all of you guys who've been involved for over the years, you guys know that Atlas is definitely one of the icons in our boxing family. Meetups like this are important to our boxing family as we move forward. And we're inspired by the number of officials who have joined us today, including officials from as far as Great Britain, and we have a couple from Boxing India who have joined us. Boxing India has quite a few AIBA level 1s, so very excited to see you guys here too. This will be the beginning of a new movement, allowing us ongoing communication and education within our officials community. These meetings will be a good opportunity to get the wheels turning for our official family to further your education, develop and refine skills, and facilitate communication. Also, to keep us all inspired, which leads us into this meeting. The purpose of today's session will be to bring our boxing family together and provide some positive and constructive resources. We want to help our boxing family stay motivated and continue developing as officials through this challenging time. It's a perfect opportunity for growth, pretty much across the board for athletes and for officials and for coaches. This will be the first of many meetups, and we'll use for future meetings to roll out information and plans as they become available, including we're actually working on an online version of the level 1 course. So some of you guys who are joining us today are not level 1s yet, but today's is geared towards people who are already officials, but you're welcome to join in. And if you're watching this as a record, enjoy, and hopefully this educates you guys. Currently, the situation is still day by day, and we're unable to project when we can even get the doors open to our gyms. However, we need to remain prepared and ready for when the green light goes on, because as Chris was mentioning before, they're hoping to get the qualifiers going in certain countries and certain sports, and it's definitely for boxing by February, and for some other sports much sooner. So today, again, we'll be closer to about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So again, if you guys have to jump off, go ahead, jump off, and we'll send you guys a record. Today, we've pulled together some materials to keep you guys refreshed on your boxing IQ as officials. I've also called on Chris Roberts from Great Britain Boxing, who actually I started my journey with in AIBA 6 years ago. That was back in Cuba, where we got to do our for me, it was actually jumping from level 1 star to 3 star. And I think Chris had been around for a little while in AIBA. So that was my first interaction with Chris, and he's got some great stories. So I'm looking forward to bringing him in. The focus today will be predominantly on judging. However, we will go over a couple of procedures and scenarios for refereeing. We say that as a referee, your mission is to protect the safety and well-being of all the boxers. And as a judge, it's your mission to protect the career of a boxer. Though it's important to be effective in the ring as a referee, you must be proficient as a judge to be considered a good official. If you're able to perform well consistently as a judge, you will be used, especially at the national and international level. If you're not, that's actually, unfortunately, where you will not be used. And whether you're a great referee or not, if you're not a good judge, then unfortunately, again, there's 5 judges around the ring at the international, national level, 3 at the local level. If you're not good, we need a lot more really good judges. And of course, you need to be a good referee, but you have to be a good judge. So that's why today we're going to focus a little bit more on the judging. So today we actually have some of the, I don't know if we have all of them, but we have most of the Boxing Ontario Officials Commission on with us today. You guys have all had a chance to meet myself over the years, I'm guessing. There's a couple people and unfamiliar faces I see on today, but I did want to give you guys a chance to meet the Boxing Ontario Commission, just because sometimes at competitions we're not always together. So again, I'm Jen. I'll bring it over to, I'm just going to find participants as we go. I've got Tommy, who's actually already unmuted. So we'll start with Tommy. I'm just going to find your spotlight here, and everyone can see Tommy.
Hi guys. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Tommy Amaral. Just rest assured here, I'm sitting in the car, but I'm not driving. I'm parked, in case you're all wondering. yeah, so my role with Boxing Ontario is I'm the Central Region Supervisor, and I also act as the provincial support, meaning in other words, the Deputy Provincial Official. And yeah, that's pretty much my role.
Awesome. And Tommy will be facilitating today's meeting with us. I'm going to bring it over to Paul DeMello. Let's see if I've got you unmuted yet. You have to accept that. Perfect.
Am I unmuted now?
Yep.
All right. Hey, I'm Paul DeMello. I'm a one-star official here in the Niagara region, and my wife's also an official. She's sitting here next to me as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Bring it over to Sean Floyd.
Am I on?
You are.
Hey, who's honking at Tommy? He's been sitting at a light. That's why somebody's honking at him. Hi, everybody. Sean Floyd. I'm up in East Region right now. I've been an official since 2003. I was fortunate to have some good mentors that I was able to progress with. Became a regional official first with Niagara, then provincial official, and like myself, Jen and I met Chris in Cuba. Had a great time. As far as this commission, it's a great thing, and with Jen's fortitude and being able to push new things, I think we've taken steps tenfold from where we were less than a year ago. So good job, Jen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean, for all your support. And I'm really excited to have brought you on there because at first we didn't actually have a quote unquote position or region for you, but the commission's about 7 people now, and we've been a very effective group. So it's awesome. We'll come back to you in a bit. So I'm going to bring it over to Chris Fenn. I actually almost brought it to Francois. Chris Fenn. He is from the Eastern region. Welcome, Chris.
How you doing?
Great.
There you go. Perfect. So I'm Chris. I am supervisor for Eastern Region. I've been involved since about 2012. And I got to just echo what Sean said. It's been really exciting. The last year or so has been really taking great leaps forward. So it's unfortunate this current situation has kind of put a lot of disruption in the plans, but I'm really excited about the team we've got moving forward. So go team.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm going to bring it back over here. So again, guys, Jennifer Huggins, president of Boxing Ontario. I'm the owner of Kingsway Boxing and the founder of Fight to End Cancer over here in Toronto, but we work internationally. I've spent the past 6 years as a 3-star international referee, traveling the world, meeting some incredible people, some of the top officials in the world. But I'm actually most honored to be working and investing my life back into where it all started. And Ontario has some of the best boxers, officials, and coaches in the world. And I'm just really excited to be able to help develop this incredible community. And I want to do that with all of you guys. So there's a couple that we're not actually on today, just haven't been able to join us yet. They might join us later, but I will show you guys our family. So this is our Boxing Ontario Commission. I had a hard time finding some pictures of some of the guys. As you can see, I've got Sean with his puppy. Tara is a new one for us. So Tara is in the northern region. I actually can't remember the last time we had and those of you guys who are joining us from outside of Canada, our country is actually broken up into provinces, and also our provinces are broken up into different regions. So Tara is up in an area that is quite far from our area of Toronto, I guess, and most of Ontario. There's some even further northern regions like Thunder Bay. So if anybody is on here from Thunder Bay, we're still looking for some leads for Thunder Bay, but we're very honored to have Tara who can join us today. Doyle as well, who is not on here yet, but if he does join us later, I'll get him to say a few words. Doyle's in the center here. He's over in the Southwestern region. Again, Southwestern region is one of our fastest growing regions. And I'm very excited to see that because as we continue to grow, we need more people who are willing to take the lead in certain areas, such as being regional officials. So I'm gonna keep on going here.
You missed Val.
Oh, I missed Val. Oh my goodness, sorry, she's right there. So you're right, thanks Tommy. So Val and Vinny. Val, I actually thought for some reason she was on here. That's actually who I was searching for. Val has not jumped on, but if she does later, I'll introduce her. Val, you'll see at every single tournament, whether it's a provincial tournament or a national tournament. She used to be actually on the AIBA Women's Commission. She used to be the president of Boxing Ontario, so I'm trying to follow in her footsteps, and she's been an incredible resource for all of the officials, myself included, for teaching us how, and I guess different procedures on how to be effective as not just an official, but also as a supervisor. So she's incredible running the tournaments, and she's been trying to teach me. She does a lot. So I can't wait for you guys all to meet her if you haven't met her yet. And Vinny, her husband, is an icon. I encourage you guys all to Google Vinny. He has accomplished more than I could even list out to you guys, including I think like 180 fights back when he was a amateur boxer. I don't know if they had pro or if he was pro or amateur, but I know he had 180 fights or more. Thanks, Tommy. Let me know if I miss anything along the way. Okay. So today, as I mentioned earlier, today's meetup will be focused on refreshing your skills and knowledge as a judge. We're welcoming officials of all levels, including from Manitoba. I see Jillian out there, and across Ontario. Actually, and as well from India as well, have just jumped on. We want to encourage you guys to be interactive. So if you're willing to be spotlighted to answer a specific question or let us know how you deal with a scenario, that'd be awesome. Again, as I mentioned earlier, put your hand in front of the screen as I put you guys into gallery mode, and I'll bring it over to you guys just to try to get you guys to speak a little bit to your knowledge. Remember to keep your answers concise as we have a lot of material to cover. Please note that this is a refresher geared towards current officials, level 1 and above. If you're sitting in to observe or you're not in a level 1 official yet, please feel free to ask questions through the chat, and we'll try to answer as many of the questions as you guys have. Anything we don't get to today, we'll work through in future sessions. So again, if you guys are speaking to any of the scenarios, try to keep it concise. If you miss anything, not a problem. If you're wrong about anything, don't worry. It's actually, this is where we're gonna learn from each other. And trust me, most of the things that I've learned has been watching other people's mistakes. So don't be scared of making them, because this is where you want to make them, not necessarily in the ring, not when you're judging, but right now when we can discuss them. So we're going to bring it to the first opportunity for everyone to kind of participate, or for certain people to participate. So what is expected of as an official? So again, you can't really get this too wrong, because what we're looking for from you guys is to kind of get an idea, and you can be at any level. So does anyone want to let us know kind of what is expected as of an official? So just put your hand up in front of the, I've got you guys on gallery right now. Ooh, I got Kelly. Kelly put his hand up. I know, I don't think he did, but it looks like he did. So I'm going to bring it over to Kelly, just because he was close enough to putting his hand up, and I'm going to unmute you.
Okay, what was the question again? Sorry.
I love it. This is how I can keep you guys awake, so be ready always. So okay, the question was, as a general kind of statement, what is expected as an official?
Safety for the athletes.
Yep.
Sportsmanship, fairness to all athletes. Probably a lot more. Just my brain ain't working the way it should be.
No problem. Anyone else want to add to that?
Of course, Olga.
Oh, perfect. We've got. And again, if I don't introduce you guys, this is Jason coming up. So I've got Jason, and I have to unmute you there, Jason.
Oh, there we go. Am I?
Yep, you're unmuted.
Okay. So what's our responsibilities as a ref? Obviously, the athlete's safety and enforcing the rules of amateur boxing.
Beautiful.
Want to write down into a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. I think I saw Sean, if you want to put your hand back up so I can see you. There we go. Okay, I think Sean had a couple of things to add to that one.
Throughout the number of years, you're only as good as your last bout. You have to be willing to learn new things or accept suggestions. It's just because you think you're at a certain level, it's always being open to suggestions and ideas to improve anything and everything about yourself. So teamwork, working together, those are important things that I've learned in the years that, you know, as much as I think I'm good, I'm not that good. And I'm always willing to learn.
Beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, that's something that I've heard along the way about only being as good as your last bout. That's so true, because you could have a great tournament And I'm sure Chris, Sean, any of the AIBA officials who are on the call today have experience where you're like, I'm on top of the world, did the best job. I'm, being recognized by all these incredible outlets. But then you get in the ring, you have a bad bout, and that's all you can think of, and that's all you're going to be remembered for until you do the next bout where you're actually able to prove yourself as a good official again. So I'm going to bring it over. Tommy, are you still unmuted there? I'll just bring Tommy back up. So Tommy, I'm not sure if you are muting yourself, but Tommy, you're unmuted now.
I'm unmuted. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, those are perfect points, guys, on the expectations of an official. Just to reiterate a little bit of what Sean said, as an official, you should be always willing to learn something new. If you feel that you know everything as an official already, then you should probably take up another sport. As a boxing official, you're always learning. You should always be willing to learn something new all the time, because there could be different scenarios in the ring, different situations that come up, even for the highest level official. And so my suggestion is always be open to receiving feedback. So that's what I'll say around that. So expectations of officials. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard this quote many times before, and it's one that stands true and one that is very important for officials. So I would rather stop 1,000 bouts too soon than one bout too late. So like some of you said already, the expectations of the officials is to keep the boxes safe, to know and fairly apply the rules, to judge without bias, and do not discuss your results with participants, to give undivided attention, to be mentally and physically fit for every event, to be professional and impartial, and to keep a professional distance from boxers and coaches during events, but always friendly and courteous. So I'll abbreviate a little bit on these. Actually, can you go back, Jen?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. So as a judge, especially as a judge, even more so than a referee, I would say, it's very important to always be focused and mentally ready for every bout that you do, right? Because you're sitting in a chair and you're watching every single second of that round for the whole bout. So, and it's very easy to get distracted, right? Especially when you're sitting, you find yourself when you're sitting, it's easy when you're tired to doze off, to lose focus. Whereas a referee, you're moving around the ring, so it's harder to lose focus. Whereas a judge, it's easier to lose focus. So it's important to always remain focused and mentally stable to judge about. If you feel you're not, then it's always good to request to take yourself off about, or so it's always that's why it's important to have proper rest, have a proper diet. Yeah, so those are some of the things around that. What are there are some things here that I wanted to touch base on. Yeah, regarding discussing results with participants, even your fellow officials. If you're sitting around the field of play and you just finished judging previous bouts, and then you're sitting around the field of play discussing that bout, whether it's, I thought he won, I thought she won for this reason, for that reason. We don't want to do that, because you never know who's listening in the field of play. There could be coaches, boxers in there overhearing your conversation, and even other officials overhearing your conversation. So it's important to not discuss results with participants in the field of play, and even outside the field of play, right? Another thing is, after the bout, for example, it's a 3-2 split decision. You get up off your seat, you walk over by the coach and you say, "Oh man, I had it for your guy." So as you can imagine, how would that come across? You're pretty much throwing the other 3 judges or 2 judges under the table, saying that they got it wrong and you got it right. And so it's important, guys, to always be, sorry, I just lost my space here. Yeah, always judge without bias, okay? It's important to discuss the bout if you want to afterwards, in the officials room or during or meetings before and after your session. That's a good place to discuss bouts. And even if you're discussing other officials, talking about other officials, we don't do that. If you have an issue with an official, you bring it up with the supervisor, and then they can take it up with the official. I think that's all I have to say around that, Jen.
Yeah, so exactly what Tommy said there. It is important you guys discuss certain things, but in the right place. And I think that's something that we're going to start helping you guys understand, because I think one of the major things in boxing is that we have a lot of emotional, I guess, investment in the sport, whether you're an official, a coach, an athlete. And it's a little bit different because an elite athlete, an elite sport like boxing, and especially boxing, we're encouraged to yell. The coaches are encouraged to yell. You just have to learn where that outlet is acceptable, especially as an official, and especially when some of you guys play the role as official and as an athlete and as a coach. So it's just understanding where and when it's appropriate and how. I'm going to bring it on to the next screen there, Tommy.
Okay, here we are here. Oh, there's me. There's Jen Wilson. There's Paul. Oh, I'm just seeing some of the photos here. Okay, I miss you guys. I haven't seen you guys in so long. I'm mesmerized by the photos, but so here we are. Expectations of officials. Your reputation. So your reputation as attentive, knowledgeable, fair, and professional will carry you far. So I know there's some coaches on here also. So this is where I will say, you know, where we don't want to discuss bouts or officials or results around the field of play. Now we're always open, and we want to. That's why we have coaches on this call here, and in the future we want to have further discussion and share data and information with coaches and boxers to let them know how officials are judging and refereeing what we're looking for and what we're trained to do. So in the field of play, coaches, you want to refrain. I know sometimes you're not always happy with the results, but refrain from discussing or asking officials, because we're not supposed to discuss it in the field of play or at a tournament. So again, for coaches, if you have issues with officials or judges, always take it up with the supervisor. And I say that because our officials, we want to keep them on point. We want to keep them sharp and mentally prepared for the bout. So coaches, I won't get too much into it, but coaches distracting officials too much, it's just not going to benefit them. And that's all I'll say around that. So remember, for officials, arrive early and prepared with a pen, rulebook, official passport, and your badge. So as you all know, it's always important to arrive early for anything in life, right? If you're late, I mean, of course, if you're late for a reason, something comes up, family or in your life or whatever, always be in communication that you're going to be late. So if you know you're going to be late, communicate you're going to be late. But otherwise, arrive early. And you know, if you arrive early, you're in your seat 10, 15 minutes prior, you'll be more prepared and you won't be rushed. And so that's why it's good to arrive early. So right, check in with the supervisor when you arrive. Again, if you're going to be late, if you know you're going to be late, communicate via text, phone, with one of your peers. Let them know to notify the supervisor you'll be late. Okay. Be dressed appropriately for the event. Professional presentation to gain and maintain respect of your position. So as officials, you know, bow ties, white shirt, black pants, and preferably black shoes. And make sure your shirt's pressed, your pants are pressed. You know, because if you look good, you're gonna do good, right? If you've got a wrinkled shirt, your shirt's untucked, you know, your pants are like falling by your waist side, and your shoes are untied, it looks unprofessional, and you're probably gonna perform unprofessionally. So remember to keep your stuff all nice and tidy, and do not drink the night before or the day of an event. You know, do not use any recreational drugs. I know marijuana here in Canada now is legal, but just like alcohol, we ask officials to refrain from using any alcohol or drugs the day before or during the day or even during the tournament at all. And I won't get into that because you guys, that's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of notes on that, guys. I just, Tommy mentioned that we have a couple of coaches on here and a couple of you guys double as coaches as well. I actually want to break down the barrier. You guys are local and some of you are new coaches. Some of you guys are experienced coaches. Actually, I see a couple of really familiar faces from who've been as far as Taipei with me. I think I see Gord Apolloni on there. I want to break down the barrier that some of the coaches had behind asking the right questions and at the right time. So I think it's important that coaches understand why a result was come to, and that's part of why we're inviting you guys into these refresher courses so that you understand what it is that we're looking for as officials. But it's really important, as Tommy mentioned, the time and place, because if you start yelling, for example, at a official or at a supervisor, even ringside during the action, do you think that the officials are going to be able to properly be attentive to the fight that's happening or the bout that's happening inside the ring? They won't. What it's going to happen is going to distract. It's not fair to the other boxers who are in the ring. It's not fair to your boxer if it's happening during the bout, because you're now distracting the officials from what it is that their actual job is. But I think that on that, one of the things that I'm trying to break down here, at least in Ontario, is that given the right opportunity and the right context and at meetings like this, I think that it's really important after the fact, because again, we can't change we don't have that protest rule here. You can't change the result ringside. We can't change it right there and then. If there's a safety issue, we want you to bring that to our attention. So I did see at Brampton Cup, for example, last Brampton Cup, there was a couple of safety things that came up. We had so many bouts. The officials were being overworked. It was insane because we had so many bouts that tournament. So officials started sometimes losing a bit of track of time. Now, this is a good example of when, as a coach, you need to step in. You have to protect your boxers at all times, just like we're supposed to. And everyone's human. This is a sport of humans, and at our most critical point. So the easiest thing you can do as a coach, in that scenario, or as a judge even, if you notice that the time's off or whatever the situation is call attention. You can put your hand up. The coach can even, stand up to the, technically if the coach mounts the ring, it becomes a disqualification or an abandonment, for the boxer. But I would rather protect my boxer. And if its bout has gone on we're going to the 4th minute now, and that's what happened at Brampton Cup, then you need to step in before it gets, past 5 seconds of that bout, before it gets past 2 seconds of that bout, start walking up, because guess what? You're okay to mount the ring during the break. That is the break time for your boxer. So these are examples of something that you guys can do as coaches. The other thing was that we are all volunteers. I know you hear that a lot. The officials are volunteers. In many cases, the coaches are volunteers. And in full case, the boxers are volunteers. But one thing I want to make clear to the officials is that the officials are volunteers, but the boxers are the biggest volunteers of all of us. They are the ones who continue to dedicate their lives to being boxers so that we have a purpose in the sport. So that's something that's very important to note. So I'm going to move it on here. So bringing it back over to you guys, what are the scoring criteria for Olympic style boxing? So I'm going to bring it again back to the crew. If there's anybody, again, the criteria, this one should be a pretty simple one. Put your hand up. And again, if you're just joining us, what we're doing is if you have the answer to a question, we want to try to include you guys as much as possible. Just throw your hand up in front of your cameras, because we want to get you guys speaking to these things and not the same people over and over again. So right now, again, we're looking for the criteria for judging in boxing, in Olympic style boxing. Anyone got it? Really? Come on, guys. Chris, I might have to call on you soon. There we go. We got Kathy Williams. Thank you, Kathy. And I will have to unmute you somehow. Sorry, this one I'm still a little bit new at. So Williams, and you are now unmuted. Nope, can't hear you, Kathy. All right, Kathy, you might have to call back in with your audio. You might not have activated your audio. In the meantime, while you're trying to activate, I've left you unmuted so that you can try to let me know when you've got it working. You might have to call or end and call back in just because your audio is not working right now. Anyone else have the scoring criteria? Anybody? All right, there we go. We got, oh, Olga. Perfect. Thank you, Olga. I'm going to bring you unmuted. Give me 1 second. Beautiful.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Quality landed punches in the scoring area. Quality landed blow, punch, however you want to properly state that, but in the scoring area, which would be this area.
That's one. Do you want to give us the rest? Because I'm
actually. Well, I'm going to just give one and give other people opportunities to put their hand up.
Hey guys, let's put your hand up. Come on, guys. All right, we got. Oh, there we go. We got Christian again. So sorry, Christian. I've got to unmute you there. Beautiful.
Yep. No worries. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Ring general generalmanship. Is that the word? Generalship.
Yep. Perfect. Do you,
Sorry.
yeah. Do you have the final one? There's 3 main criteria.
Scoring blows, ring generalmanship, and off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
All right. We'll bring it over to Sean. Sean has the answers, I'm sure, always. Go ahead, Sean.
Technique and tactic, and then competitiveness.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. All right, so I'm going to bring it back over to the slides. So we'll go through them. It's not a trick question, guys. None of this is meant to be trick questions, but it's really important that you know it right off the bat. So I'll bring it back over and we'll get them explained a little bit for you guys. So Tommy, if you wanna, I'm not sure if you're muted again there. Yeah, looks like you muted yourself again. You're good.
Okay, great. Awesome. So what are the scoring criteria for Olympic style boxing? So number 1 is number of quality. Quality, remember that's a key word, is quality blows on the target area. I'm sure you're all familiar with the target area. And if you're not, it's from your waist up to the top of your forehead, along the side. Not along the side of your head, but along the side of your face, down your shoulders, down the side of your body to your waist. Just kind of running a finger here along my body. You probably can't see it, but you can probably get from how I'm describing it. So domination of the belt through technical and tactical superiority. And the last one is competitiveness.
So no, those are the 3 main criteria, guys. Again, I'm looking to see if anyone wants to elaborate on them. We will elaborate for you guys, but again, this is part of the part of what we want to try to get you guys to do is become a little bit more proficient in being able to explain what that means, because people, again, just as we said before, sometimes you might have a different decision from what the rest of the judges on the panel of judges around the ring have from you. If you can't explain to the supervisor, for example, why it is you came to that result, then, and just labeling those 3 criteria might not be enough. You need to understand those criteria. Anyone want to take a stab at technique and tactics, explaining what technique and tactics actually is? Yeah, okay, I've got Jason's coming back on. I feel like Jason's gonna be one of our good ones for answering some stuff. Let me unmute you there, Jason. I'm gonna make it so you guys can unmute yourselves. All right, perfect.
There we go. So technique and tactics. I think somebody had mentioned earlier, Chris, I think his name is, about ring generalship, how you control the ring. Effective aggression, how you use effective aggression in the ring. Defensive tactics in the ring. It involves everything basically but punching the other guy. How you move, how you defend, how you use your aggression effectively. Perfect.
Does anyone want to try to take a stab at competitiveness? What competitiveness would mean within the context of a bout? I think I saw Olga's hand come up again. I should bring it back to Kelly just to wake him up. Kelly, you want to? Yeah, we're gonna make Kelly take a stab at this. Kelly, you're unmuted. But we can't hear him. I think he's doing that on purpose. Anyone else gonna take a stab at it before we just go into it? No? All right, guys. Again, if you're just joining us, if you guys just put your hand in front of your screen, then I'll know that you guys have the answer. You can also message me privately. Sean's telling me to try to get some of the other officials. I am trying, Sean, but they're not putting their hands up. I don't want to be too aggressive and just feature them on the spotlight and say, bam, give me the answer. But maybe Jack. Actually, you know what, Jack, you're looking to upgrade, right? So Jack, Jack Sullins, competitiveness. Can't hear him either. He's not muted anymore, and it sounds like you're.
Hello.
There we are. I can hear you now. Okay, go for it. Competitiveness.
Okay,
Jack?
competitiveness would be, a lot of advancing and, just an overall, nature of, advancing, not retreating, and not tiring, not giving up. Like just kind of hanging in there in a very clear way where it's obvious that this person has the gusto and is moving forward.
Perfect. Okay, so stay awake, guys, because I might just now start unmuting you guys and bringing it over to you as a spotlight. So let's just move it on, guys, because we have all of it written down right here. I'll bring it back to Tommy. If Tommy, are you around there still?
I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So number of quality blows on the target area. Okay, now the key word here, like I said, was quality over quantity. Okay, so if, for example, quality blows, if you're throwing lots of quantity, but they're not effective, there's no weight behind the punch, not hitting the target area, this does not count as a scoring blow. So remember, it's quality blows on the target area. So the blows must meet the legal blow criteria. So meaning weight behind the punch with the scoring area of the glove, which is the knuckle part area. So for some of you that can remember, the gloves used to have the white part on the knuckle part of it. That's the scoring part of the glove in the scoring area. And again, all these descriptions you guys can find in the manual. There's a description of the scoring area and the scoring area on the glove. And so when the quantity of the blows are equal, the quality of the blows can decide the winner of the round. So I'll give you an example. So 10 jabs and 10 power punches has the edge over 20 jabs. Okay, is that clear, guys? So when the quantity of the blows are not equal, the quality of the blows can decide the winner of the round. Here's another example. So 7 jabs and 7 power punches has the edge over 16 jabs.
Perfect. Going on to domination of the bout. Tom, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is something that is the best way to figure out if you're a coach and you're trying to figure out if your boxer is ahead. If the number of quality blows in the scoring area far exceeds the other boxer, you're almost guaranteed not even going to go down to the next step, which is technique and tactics, even though technically that really matters. But if your boxer is out punching with quality blows the other boxer, then we might not even as judges need to go down to technique and tactics, because the number of quality blows in the scoring area is going to be the first thing we're looking for. And if that is very clear, then technique and tactics are not going to be outweighing the number of quality blows. However, if it's so even, and even as a coach, you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I can't really tell, it's pretty close between my boxer and the other boxer, but my boxer has avoided a punch to be able to land a punch, then that's where we start looking at technique and tactics. So a boxer who is controlling the bout with a combination of attack and defense, a boxer who is the effective aggressor, we heard that one from Jason, a boxer who is constantly, sorry, that was by Jack, a boxer who is constantly attacking by going forward is not necessarily an effective aggressor. Just moving in doesn't necessarily mean they're boxing effectively. A boxer who controls the bout with a combination of attack and defense, he scores or she scores cleanly while defending against counterpunching. A boxer who forces the action and sets the tempo of the bout. So again, maybe slip and counterpunch. These kind of things are all criteria for technique and tactics. So again, it's very important to understand to the judges and to the coaches and to the boxers that if the number of scoring blows is far exceeding on one boxer, then we may not have to go down to technique and tactics, because it's very clear on number of quality blows that the other boxer or your boxer is winning. Now, if tactics and number of quality blows is very equal, and you're really having a hard time as a judge or as a coach figuring out how your boxer is doing, and again, we're gearing this towards the judges. So if you're at the point where you say, you know what, that boxer, both boxers were effectively aggressing, they were effectively counterpunching, they were slipping, there was beautiful boxing and even number of punches, then at this point we have to now come back down to the next and final criteria, which I'll get Tommy to talk about.
Okay, great. Yeah. So this is the third. So this is the criteria we will use when judging the bouts when it's so close, like Jen just described. Number of bouts are quality blows are equal. Technique and tactics are equal. Then it comes down to who wanted it more, who is more competitive, right? So a boxer who is constantly trying to win through the entire bout, boxer who continuously shows strong desire to compete and win, boxer who continuously shows initiative to win, and boxer with inferior condition who tries to overcome and win the bout. So the boxer, for example, I'll give you first round, he lost the first round, but the second and third round, he came back stronger, and you could see that he wanted it more than the other boxer. That's one way of using this criteria. So those are the three three criteria for judging. Anything else you want to say around that, Jen?
No, I guess based on the criteria, when it does go to decision, and again, there's many outcomes. Who wants to take a stab? And again, if you don't put your hands up now, from now on, the ones that I know should have the answers, I am probably going to just feature you guys. So anyone want to take a stab at it before I tell you guys to answer it? Katie Clark looks so comfy. I feel like I should make Katie Clark answer it. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can get her. So, and if you don't get them all, it's not a problem. I've just tried to unmute you there.
Okay, what's the question here?
So the question is, what are the outcomes? So, I can tell you one of them is winning on points. What are the outcomes of a bout?
We can win on points. You can have an abandonment, an RSC, well, there's like multiple RSCs, right? Like you have an injury. That's still one, right? Like when you get injured, like if you got cut,
yes.
Not the stoppage. Then there's just like a basic RSC, and then a DQ. Or a double DQ, which we've seen that in people's books.
Perfect. Anyone else? Perfect, Katie. There's a couple more. Anyone else want to take a stab at anything that's missing? Chris is probably like eager to answer this one. Anyone else? No? Yeah? Okay, well, I already volunteered Katie, so I will bring it back up to the... Okay, well, I already volunteered. Oh, okay. Who was that? Sorry. Okay. So the possible outcomes, I actually missed one when I was doing this. I forgot about abandon, so you might not see abandon on here. I was just doing this last minute before the call. So we have win on points. So that means the point system that we were just talking about. RSC, like Katie said. RSCI, so that's if there's an injury. KO. DKO, which is I think what Katie meant with the double disqualification. DKO, I've only seen this happen twice, and I was live for one of them, so we can discuss how that works. A disqualification. And something that only, I believe on the call today, Chris and myself would have had to deal with, which is technical draw. I actually never personally had to declare a technical draw. That was back when we had WSB APB. So that's something that we are not looking at for now. As it stands, we don't have WSB APB. So again, I will bring it back to you guys. What are the possible outcomes for, I guess, when you are awarded on points? What are the possible outcomes there? I'm going to bring it back over to the gallery. And you guys can actually put it on the gallery as well, so we can see who's being interactive here. Yeah, there we go. I got Matt Standish, who's actually called Jill today. We'll unmute you. You got it.
So can you hear me?
Yep.
10-9, obviously, 10-8. You may rarely see a 10-7. In fact, if you do see that, you probably, as a referee, should have stopped the fight. And obviously it can go the other way. It can go, 9-10, 8-10, etc.
Perfect. And just since I have you, do you want to elaborate on what those scenarios would be? So what a 9-10 would represent, what an 8-10 would represent, and what a 7-10 would represent?
Sure. That would be obviously a red is the first number. So it's a red in this case. 9-10 means 10, blue won the round. And obviously if it was an 8-10, it's a clear domination. 10-9 is a close round. A 10-8 is a clear winner, and a 10-7 is a total domination.
Beautiful. That was very well done. Awesome. Very good. So they are, I'm going to show you guys back to the screen here. So the possible outcomes, as Matt said, 10-9 means it's very close. 10-8, clear. Very clear for, in this case, I've got 10-8, which is clear for red, and a 10-7 total dominance. And I'm not sure, we'll talk to Chris later on and see if he's seen so many of those lately. I haven't seen those in, I would say, probably about 5 years, we've stopped using those 10-7s. And exactly what Matt said, if it is a 10-7, it means that the referee might not have done their job too well. Tommy, I'll get you to go over the 10-9, just the descriptions, 10-9 through 10-7.
Okay, great. So 10-9 round. So remember, we have to award a winner. So it can't be a 10-10 or a 9-9. So we always have to award a winner. So we always have to reward a 10 round, a 10 score to one of the boxers in the round. So a 10-9 round is when both boxers are evenly matched in most of their criteria. So it's a close round may include a count. So even though a boxer got an 8 count, it still could be a 10-9 round. Okay, 10-8 rounds. So there's a clear winner due to the big difference in number of quality blows scored. There's a clear winner with similar difference in number of quality blows scored, but may include a count. So after the round is over and you're like, clearly know that that boxer won, it's probably a 10-8. Okay, if no doubt in your mind that boxer clearly won, then it's probably a 10-8. Okay, and then a 10-7, like Matt said, is total dominance. So one boxer is completely dominant over the other boxer in all criterias. There's a clear winner due to the big difference in number of quality blows scored and may include a count. Anything, do you want to abbreviate anything on those ones, Jen?
I would say if I saw a 10-7 in the past, where I have seen 10-7s were probably totally due, it would have been back in WSB, even AOB. AOB is AIBA open boxing, where there were definitely counts, and there was probably the maximum number of counts you could get before the referee had to stop the contest. So we can get into that a little bit later. I might have to remind myself to ask Chris how much of that he's really seen. But I guess we'll move on to, now, one of the things that we were supposed to have, but we haven't figured out yet with Zoom, is we were gonna try to judge a bout together on Zoom, but the quality of the streaming has been really choppy lately with the videos, so we're not gonna do that today. What we will do is actually send you homework. We have an officials group, we'll talk about that later, but it was really, really important to, and actually I'll probably get Chris to share with me some, because I know he's got a collection of them, some videos of good bouts to be able to judge from. Just because the more you practice in line with what the actual results are, the better you can actually see and determine whether you are on track as a judge at that. And you want to be judging and practicing at the international, national level so that you are able to implement what some of these athletes you're going to run into would see at the international, national level, because we have a lot of those here in Ontario. So I'm going to bring it back to you guys because we're just going to touch on this because, as I mentioned, we're focusing on judging today. What makes an effective referee? So who's got this one? Hands. Oh, I've got the same hands coming up. So I've got, Jason's a really good guy here. He wants to answer it all, but I think I'm going to bring it over to, You guys, no one want to put their hand up because I'm going to bring it over to someone randomly. Okay, Katie, we got Katie. We already got Katie. You know what? I think, yeah, we got Paul. Let's bring it over to Paul. So Paul, I have to unmute you. You should be able to unmute yourself, but I will unmute you again.
Okay, I believe I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think very simply, having control of the bout. The way you present yourself, the way you move, the way you communicate with the boxer will give you control of the bout. And if you have control of the bout, then you're able to apply fairness. You're able to move more easily, see more, and also be able to keep the boxers safer. So for me, having control is the basis for everything you do in the ring. And that, to me, control starts from the moment you step into the venue, maybe even the moment you step out of your car, how you interact with coaches, how you interact with boxers, your professionalism, the way you stand, your shoulders are back, you're firm in your speech, and you're fair and respectful. So I would say everything you do, do it around creating a sense of control in the ring, and you'll be a good referee.
Perfect. I'm going to bring it over to Lila because I just noticed her over here and I've got you unmuted. Is there anything else you want to add, Lila? This is Lila, guys. She's on one of our AIBA level referees and judges. Can you anything you want to add to being a good referee, because you're one of our best?
Thank you. I think that Paul probably covered it. I think that preparedness includes knowing the rules and knowing any updates to the rules. And also, if you are traveling internationally, or nationally for that matter, pay a lot of attention to whatever your supervisor addresses with the group before the commencement of the tournament, because yes, we all work from the same rule book, but there may be certain things that the supervisor in that instance really wants to see highlighted. So you want to make sure that you're on track with the way that they're going to be handling their tournament. Other than that, no, I think most of the other things were covered. Fairness, leaving your biases to the side, especially if you also coach or if you're familiar with a lot of the boxers, etc. You want to really make sure you put that to the side and stay very focused. And I would add to that probably also your own personal physical conditioning. Our boxers are some of the even at the novice level, even boxers with less than 10 bouts are in incredible physical and mental shape. And we owe it to them and to the spectators and to our sport to arrive with that same level of physical conditioning and mental conditioning to the best of our ability.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well done. That's so yeah, exactly what Lila said. I'm going to reshare in case there's anything that we missed. But one of the things she mentioned was being prepared. This is something that we're not focusing on this specific seminar today, but we will give you guys on the next one. It'll be focused on refereeing and scenarios. Again, something I said at the beginning of this was that I've learned a lot of what not to do from watching other people's mistakes. And there's a lot of videos out there because everything's videotaped now of people making mistakes. And I never look at them and say, oh my gosh, that referee sucks, because guess what? It hasn't happened to you yet. And what would you do in that scenario is the biggest question. So you really need to take the time to research, be prepared, and look at scenarios, because guess what? Not something different can happen every time as a referee, and something different will happen every tournament, every competition you have, whether it's a club level competition. And I love novice boxing because that's so unpredictable. You've got new kids in there who've never maybe taken a punch before, and you have to know what to do in a split second, because you're being not just watched for what you're doing, but you're there to protect the boxer. So if you don't have the right reaction within that split second, then you're not prepared to be in the ring with that level of athlete, which is, doesn't matter whether it's novice or international or Olympic level. Tommy, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, quickly add something to that, sure. So yeah, as referees, our two main important role is to enforce the rules and make sure that we keep the boxers safe. And to be prepared, always be prepared. So one of the ways we can always be prepared is, pick up the rule book every, couple of times a week or once a week before you go to bed, whatever. Read a couple of pages of the rule book. Watch some footage of boxing events, especially at the higher levels. You can that can help you get prepared and see different types of scenarios, and then you can know what to do in case one of those scenarios do happen to you in the ring. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll bring it back over to, I guess if there's anything we missed, and Tommy, you can cover that there.
Great, sure. So here are the characteristics of an effective referee. So mannerisms and behavior, decisive action, continuous training, clear signals, calmness, consistency, good judgment, fairness, knowledge of the rules, and elicits confidence. So good movement and positioning. So you're smooth and relaxed, and walk, not run or hop. Pivot and avoid walking backwards. As I shared a video with you guys in our Facebook group, you see what happens to an official when they walk backwards consistently. Very easy to fall over and get hit by the boxer. Control the belt primarily through verbal commands and less so by hand commands. Okay, so issuing cautions and warnings as necessary. So use your experience to avoid stoppages. Knowing when to protect a boxer and deliver an 8 count. So not one punch too soon and not one punch too late. So knowing when and acting to declare a RSC or a KO. So protect the weaker boxer and both boxers' health.
Perfect. Now a question came in from Olga. So I'm just going to take it back to, I'm going to spotlight her for a second. I'm going to take it back to the judging perspective. Sorry, I just missed the question when it came in. So Olga, if you want to just kind of clarify your question, or if you want to clarify the point you were making.
Well, Tommy covered it when he went through the judging, and it was basically discussing the difference between a few jabs landing versus a body shot, or even a clean right hand landing to a boxer's head and the other boxer landing a body shot at the same time. Perfect. One punch for one punch, who would you award that quality to? Would you award it to the boxer that landed the body shot while taking a right hand because it's harder to get in and land that body shot? Or do you award it to the person landing the right hand because it's to the head?
Yeah, these are all, again, this is going to take experience on your guys' part, actually judging bouts. And this is why I'm going to actually send you guys homework. So it would be preferable to do it together with you guys. And hopefully by next time we actually have the video working a little bit better. But something that Olga said that I've actually had a lot of coaches ask me before is exactly if a cross, what's the value? Is it equal? If a cross lands on the boxer's head, but they're able to land a body shot and the body shot is technically harder to land, but did they land it effectively if they got punched in the face while doing it? These are all things that as a judge is common sense, but you need to practice and see and equate your judging to the judges who have the experience to be able to determine that. And it's not just that one interaction, it's a combination of everything throughout the bout and throughout that round that you guys need to take into consideration. So we're gonna go through a couple of scenarios. And again, the more we talk about these things, the better answers we're gonna have on these, and also the better you guys will do as judges in those circumstances. But what I want to do, and we're going to go through these pretty quickly because I do want to get to Chris, because Chris has a couple of, Chris Roberts from Great Britain Boxing has a lot of really cool insight into what they do and how they run these kind of seminars as well. This is new for us, Chris, by the way. But this is one of the scenarios, and I want to see if anyone has the opportunity to take a stab at it. So start thinking as I read it to you guys. So in the first 15 seconds, blue comes out of the corner and delivers 2 or 3 effective jabs and a body shot and manages to slip a sloppy counter punch and connects with the red's forehead on a counter right hook while showing some good technique. Red responds with a heavy straight right and knocks blue down for an 8 count. If the bout is stopped here, who's winning on your card? So don't worry that it might be an RSC. Just worry about, let's say something happens, we have to go to scorecards. It could have been a cut. What would your result be? Does anyone want to take a stab at this one? Oh, we got Katie. Yes, Katie Clark. Hold on, I've got to unmute you.
Did it work? All right. So I'm joined here by my cat. He's telling me the answers. So I didn't catch which colors it was, but it would be the boxer who landed more punches, because like an 8 count is 1 shot. That 8 count shot is worth just as much as like a decent right hand that the other person landed. So I would give it to the person who actually landed more shots.
Perfect. And again, this is something that you guys will have to, we'll have to send you guys videos so you get a chance to actually see what these look like, because talking about it is great, but sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to see it in action and know what to do and how to score properly given the proper context. So let me share you guys again another scenario. I've just got about 4 of them here. So this one's not a trick question. I would like to see some new people. So this is a scorecard. You've got 9-10, 9-10. So blue is winning this one in the first 2 rounds and a close win. And then on the 3rd round, 10-8, red won with a clear round. And it ends up being a tie. So remember, in amateur AOB boxing, you are not allowed to have a tie. You can't end up with a draw. In this scenario, we're saying there was no point deductions. So what I'm hoping for is if anyone can clarify. Anyone have the answer of who should have won that? All right, we'll go with Jason because his hand's up again. And he's still muted, but I'll unmute you.
There we go. So I've done the same thing as Katie here, as I don't remember which one was which. But the one that won the last round. Oh, am I still with you?
Yeah, I've shared the screen so you guys can see which.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. So there you go. So red won the last round. I would award it to red because he's the one that made the adjustments. He lost the first round in a close round, lost the second round in a close round, and he was actually able to make adjustments and come back and dominate a 3rd round. In my mind, that means that he was his competitiveness, the last thing that we had to judge, was better. He was able to make adjustments to make sure that he can be competitive in that last round, and blue wasn't able to make the adjustments to take that last round from him. So in my mind, he was improving on the way up and blue was on the way down. I say that red wins that bout.
Perfect. So there's a couple of things, and then that's why we said this was not a trick question. As Jason said, this shows competitiveness, but it also very clearly, this is a very big mistake a lot of new judges will make. Just because blue won the first 2 rounds, they won so close. Remember your criteria. They won so close that the judges had to go down to the second criteria, which is technique and tactics, very possibly even the third criteria, because it was so close. It could have gone either way. The second round tells me same thing. Maybe they went down to technique and tactics. Maybe it went down to competitiveness, and it was so close. The only round that was won in this scenario, the only boxer who won one round very clearly was red, and that was in the third round. So this is a very, very good example. It's always used. I think every competition I've ever attended internationally, nationally, the supervisor will bring it up and show it and just look to see who gets it wrong. Just because it is a very easy one to get mistaken as you guys start off. I'm gonna move it on to the next scenario just because I've got two more. So the next scenario is from the judge's seat, Judge 3 signals to Judge 1 that the upcoming fight will be a good one. So giving the thumbs up, oh, this is great boxer. So it'll be a good one by gesturing to the red corner as the Judge 1 is not familiar with these boxers. What would you guys do? Is there anyone who wants to take a stab at if a judge is signaling to you that, oh, this is a really good boxer, in that instance or after, what would you guys, anyone have a opportunity to, anyone different? I feel like I should bring it over to Doyle is here. I'm gonna spotlight Doyle. So Doyle is the one that I actually introduced you with a picture, but now Doyle is with us. So Doyle, what would you do if you as a supervisor, as a judge, or as anyone saw that happen?
I would talk to the judge or replace him if I had other people. Take that one judge right out of the picture.
And if it was, if you were judging that happened, so a judge ended up kind of motioning to you that, yeah, that boxer is really good, what would you do as a judge?
I wouldn't pay much attention to him because you got to be impartial.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome, Doyle. I missed getting to introduce you earlier on, but Doyle is the Southwestern Regional Supervisor. So welcome to the call. I saw you come in just like a couple minutes after.
Yeah.
So awesome, very good. So yeah, I think this is something that maybe Chris, I think we need to speak about things like this. Maybe not today, but I think there should be a conversation, and maybe Chris, I might put you on the spot and see what kind of things, but I know that it's almost human nature sometimes for people to get really excited about something, maybe do things. We're all human. But I think it's really important that two things you can actually do to avoid that situation. One, you might not have to make eye contact once a bout starts or once you sit down in the judge's chair. That's why in an international competition setting, you're put in the back RJ lounge where no one can access you. Not even, well, the judges can, but nobody else can access you. So if you sit down in your judge's seat, and there was a time where signals was something that we all had to avoid, and there was a lot of good judges out there that had to learn how to avoid the signals, whether it was from coaches, other officials. Keeping your eyes, peeled inside the ring where no one else's eyes you can catch is a really good way of avoiding that situation. And then definitely, as Doyle said, let your supervisor know. Doesn't matter what level of competition you're at. Talk to the supervisor. If it's appropriate, let the judge know that that wasn't appropriate for them to do with you. Tommy, is there anything that you wanted to add to that one? I feel like Tommy has gotten muted again. Yes, you have.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it all. Thanks, Jen.
Perfect. Okay. We have one last one, and then we'll bring Chris Roberts in. So this is one that actually I think we got two more. This is one that has happened to a lot of us. So the results come in, and you're on the 4-1 decision. And one thing could happen is you're not used for the next session. So especially international competitions, even at national competitions, it could happen that you're not used for the next session. Or the second thing that might happen is in the heart of hearts, you made the right decision, but no one talks to you about it throughout the entire tournament. You guys go home and you're sitting there, it's still sitting and still weighing on your mind. Anyone have a suggestion on what they could do in that scenario? Anyone have anything? Yeah, Lila. I see Lila coming up with something. Let me unmute you again. For some reason, it's not letting you guys unmute yourselves. All right.
Well, I have the benefit of having had this experience, so I'm more than happy to share. This happened to me in Bulgaria. I was on the wrong side of a split on a 4-1, and there was even, apparently it was made clear to me from the supervisor that the country that my 4-1 was on had complained, because at a lot of international competitions, obviously the judges' scores are displayed on the monitors, so there's no secret who's on the wrong side. And I was mortified. I was very embarrassed. And the supervisor, I think in my opinion, was gracious enough to let me know that I was being taken off of any bouts involving that country for the balance of the day. And I was fine with that. I knew that I had obviously had troubles in that bout. And I just made it clear to the supervisor that I would do my best to stay a little bit more focused and try and just regroup and do better. And I think that's all you can do. I've seen judges being taken off judging and refereeing for the balance of an entire tournament, which is probably even worse. Thankfully, I was only taken off for that one day and off of that particular country, but still, we all have our off days, and I think you have, or our off bout, and I think you just have to chalk it up to experience and to ensuring that you really redouble your efforts to be even more focused and just make sure that you're following the scoring criteria, and hopefully everything will go just fine from there. And that was my experience. Everything went just fine from there. So, but it does happen, and you got to figure out what to do in the moment to make yourself do a better job.
Awesome. Thank you, Lila. Yeah, that's actually, sorry, I'll just bring it over back here. So I think you covered it all, Lila. I think there's one other thing that they've added, and I'm sure Chris can relate to this one. I think the last tournament I did internationally was in Siberia, Russia. It was the World Championships. And again, these tournaments, when you do them internationally, can be very long. They can be up to almost 2 weeks, and your concentration can start going sometimes. Or sometimes it's actually the correct result. Sometimes you're on the 4-1 and you've made the right decision. So one thing they've started doing at the international level, and I would like to start implementing that at the local level, is reviewing the bout. And they'll review it with you in between sessions. And I find it extremely helpful. And we'll talk to Chris in a little bit, see what they do over in Great Britain. But if you review the bout, even if you are told that you've done something wrong and you really feel you did something right, or even if you're not talked to at all, review that bout, or even ask the supervisor, because now in the RJ lounge, they have the bout review in the room, and the supervisors come to watch it with you. When I could speak to Ontario, both Tommy, myself, any of the commission will watch a bout with you guys. Hopefully we can try to figure out how to do it on Zoom, because even on the best of days, some of us have a hard time meeting up because of how big Ontario is. So I think that that's one major thing, is looking at a bout that you've either judged or refereed and had maybe some problems with, and seeing what they are and how you can do better in the future. Tommy, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Nope.
Good, perfect. Okay, final one, and this is something I just added last minute. That's why I forgot about it. This is happening more and more. Social media is a big thing. So you've returned home after a big tournament and you check social media, and you see a very aggressive accusation of corruption on a post from one of the boxers. Or B, you receive a message from the boxer asking why you selected the other boxer to win. Now, this has happened to me personally from even boxers from other countries. Anyone want to take a stab at what to do, what the protocol would be? And actually, I do have a question for this. I'll pass this over to Chris if you guys later on, or if you can later on tell me if you guys have a protocol for this. But anyone have anything? Yeah, I'm going to bring it over to Olga. Oh, sorry, I unmuted you.
You good?
Yeah.
Yeah. With scenario B, I would forward the supervisor's email address or contact information to that said boxer and have them contact the supervisor directly.
Perfect. Yeah, so that was, I'm actually just going to share it back so you guys can see the scenario. So scenario B was if you received a message from the boxer. So that's perfect. You don't engage, right? There's no need for you as the official to be engaging with a boxer. Even if it's a respectful, question like, hey, I thought you liked me. You obviously don't like me anymore. It's not that. It's just don't engage, especially on social media. Any other suggestions, Olga, for an aggressive accusation of corruption from one of the boxers or coaches? Oh, you're muted.
How's that?
Good.
Yeah, I would just bring it to the supervisor's attention again. Maybe share that post with the supervisor. Hey, this is what I've seen. Not respond. Don't engage. Don't like, share, comment. Just scroll right through it and bring it to the supervisor's attention and have them deal with the situation.
Very good. Yeah. And this is going to happen more and more, guys, as social media has become, especially now with the quarantine. People have been really good lately. Tommy, is there anything that you wanted to add here before we move on to Chris?
Yeah, sure. So So no matter what you say to that boxer, there's nothing you can say that's going to change his mind about why he's upset about you. So going back to don't engage with him or him or her. Just always resort it back to the supervisor. So yeah, don't engage, even if it's offline, especially on social media, because you know how that can go, guys.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, guys. Well, what we've all been waiting for, I'm going to actually bring it back to someone who has come to us all the way from Great Britain, Chris Roberts. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Chris Roberts. He's a friend and official family member from AIBA. Major Chris Roberts enlisted in the Army in May 1992. He had a decorated career with a number of key assignments in both the UK and overseas. He's completed assignments in Iraq, Afghanistan, and even a 12-month period of work in Alberta, Canada. I actually had not realized that. So Chris, we got a little bit of stuff to talk about here. He has seen some really interesting and challenging times operating within all areas of the physical development role, also finding time to successfully complete a degree in sports science, along with education in the military context through the Royal Military Academy. At the military college, he studied strategic management, attaining a level 7 master's degree. Chris has been involved in the sport of boxing as an official since 1996. He's an active 3-star boxing referee and judge at the international level of the sport, along with one of the lead technical officials and supervisors across both England and Great Britain boxing. He has attended a plethora of international appointments across the world and Europe. Alongside the appointments as an official, he was the support competition manager for Great Britain for the World Series of Boxing, and more recently, the international liaison officer for the Olympic qualifying event in London. Chris is the United Kingdom Armed Forces and Army Boxing Association appointments officer, an appointment that he has held for the past 10 years. A key area is development of officials, not only within the area of the armed forces, but across England and GB. He's keen to help all levels of officials to attain their goals, no matter how huge or small, and proud and privileged to be a part of a number of fantastic organizations, including now Ontario, which has given him the opportunity to travel and be a part of a fantastic sport, meet and greet people from all over the world, and now is here to meet and greet our team, which I'm really excited for, and surprisingly haven't had the opportunity, I've got you unmuted there, Chris, haven't had the opportunity to even talk with you about Canada. That's awesome. So
yeah,
welcome,
great.
Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Really nice to have the invite through the week and sharing a few experiences with your officials. Going back to the point you made about Canada, yeah, it was an interesting time actually. We had Canada, you may well be aware, in medicine hats used for training in the military context. So that's where the green side of the military operations develop their skills. And during that time when the troops are out there, they come along to Trails End Camp, which is located just outside of Cochrane. And they come there for to do, we would class it as adventurous training. So it's a series of kayaking, mountaineering, all sorts of different whitewater rafting. So my task really there was to sort of manage and facilitate that for the troops coming in. So quite fortunate really to be given that role. So I had 2 independent roles, and that was pre-Iraq. So it's part of the rollman that they do through the whole battle group. So it's a 2-year training package of mission-specific training, but that acts as part of one of those training objectives. So yeah, very fortunate to spend a year in swanning around in Banff the majority of the time. Really great, loved it. Yeah, fantastic place, fantastic people.
Yeah, definitely one of the prettier areas of Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really good, really good. And fortunately, we talk about how we develop our officials. We've used a lot of the training material that was developed in the early years by the military, because we use a specific sort of system called the Defence Systems Approach to Training. So we're able to identify training objectives and the enablers that we put into a whole raft of different courses, and we apply this application to the judges and timekeepers course, the referees course, and that's been going for many years. And we're quite fortunate because we've shared a lot of that material with England Boxing, Scotland and Wales, and we've developed those presentations. And as you mentioned earlier, we take a lot of the training material, which we use when we take the recording of the bouts, and we use that. We find it really useful. Going back to the point you made earlier about, you know, how do we look at our officials and we develop our officials? I think what you're doing here is fantastic, especially through the COVID restrictions. And, you know, how do you keep people engaged? How do you manage to keep people enthused? And I think what you're doing here is absolutely fantastic. We're doing a similar thing at the moment with our supervisors. We've just developed a new course, so that's being rolled out as we speak. And as I mentioned to Sean sent me a message last week on Messenger just asking for the material. So I will get that material across to you. There's about
You
7
guys,
or 8
sorry,
different...
question on that one. So you guys have a supervisor's course. How do people qualify for that course?
So yeah, it's quite interesting because we've got we look at, not necessarily do we pick up people, and I don't know what you do out in Canada, but we don't necessarily pick up officials who have been a referee and a judge. So you might be a really good judge, but you're showing, you know, quality leadership, your administration's fantastic, and we want to, and people have got a good eye, and we talk about understanding the rules and regulations, a good eye for the rules and a good understanding of how boxing collectively works, you know, from a coach's perspective, from a judge's perspective. We bring in some of our you know, our people who want to be or want to learn to be a supervisor, but not necessarily want to get themselves in the ring as a referee, because it is a scary place, being in there with the boxers, because, you know, as we spoke about previously, you need to get the decisions right. So we identify people who have got those key skills, and we sit them alongside our qualified supervisors already, and we take them through a whole series of different events, whether that be schoolboys, juniors, you know, elite championships, developments. We get them in there, and we sort of keep them at our side, and we take them through the weigh-in. How does the weigh-in work? How do we do the simple things like the rota for the officials around the ring? You know, what should they be looking for? And all those key skills for a supervisor. So we develop them that way, and they sit down and go through a series of exams. So we have a grade C supervisor who will sit a grade C exam, score it, take a certain score from there, and then they're out there on their own doing stuff at regional level. But of course, they've got a number of mentors within England boxing who they can refer to and speak to on a daily basis if they need to, or after weekend work, just to discuss various scenarios, which is, I think, is really useful. So that's one sort of area we're developing at the moment. And we have different levels of supervisor. You've got your grade C supervisor, who is dealing with club shows effectively. And then your grade B supervisor, the next level up. And it's all about attaining another level within the exam to understand the rules a little bit further and exposing people to national level competition. And then, you know, running with that for a number of years, 2 years it's got in there as a part of the criteria. And then looking at where that person then fits in to the bigger scheme or the grander scheme. You know, are they showing real good leadership? Do they understand how the world of boxing works? And then you move on to your grade A level. I've got all the exams for that actually, so I can share those with you as well. So that'll save you a bit of work.
Yeah, that's actually something that we really want to develop. We're just starting to develop different manuals and different procedures. So this was a perfect time to have that.
Yeah, I've got the England. We've just revamped the England boxing handbook. So we can get that across to you. That's similar to the AIBA handbook, that book, but it's you have your nuances and your independent rules within your own country. So there's 1 or 2 changes that we've applied, but we clearly we can share that information with you. But you know, we're moving forward as an organisation. I think it was Tommy that mentioned it earlier. No, we're always learning. You know, we don't know it all. When you think you do, that's time to stop. So we take a lot of influence from other countries as well, and we bring that back to to our nation, and we share that with everybody, and lots of great ideas and lots of great work out there. And again, good situations, positive situations, and going back to negative situations when we do see these things like A41 and someone's been taken off a tournament, and how do we deal with that? So we do discuss, you know, how someone should manage that. And particularly, I can't remember the lady's name that mentioned the time in Bulgaria where she was taken off the bout. Bulgaria is an interesting place. I know Sean's been there. They're very protective of the boxers, as we all are. But the minute you go against a boxer or perceive to be going against a boxer, and we apply the rules within the spirit of the rules to get the right decisions. You know, and we know that there are corrupt officials out there. But my philosophy is always this: if you're on a 4-1, the other 4 are wrong. So I'm never in the wrong position. I'm always correct. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. And the other bit to that is, the other bit to that as well, Jen, is the minute you are on a 4-1 and you've got that feeling inside your stomach because you've seen it up on the screen, or everybody's looking, you've got to forget about it. You've got to move on to the next bout. You've got to completely forget about that, because the minute it starts eating you up inside, it becomes an issue. And
we've actually got a good question came in from Nick, one of our newer officials from the Eastern region. She asked, how is England boxing dealing with trying to protect the reputation of and educate the public about amateur boxing when there's been fear and concern around unlicensed white collar boxing students or student boxing in England? So we've run into the same kind of thing. So the white collar boxing here in Canada, it's mandatory that every single sanction comes through Boxing Canada or Boxing Ontario, our local province.
Yeah.
But I know in England you guys have unlicensed white collar. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, and it's something interesting. It was on a program a couple of weeks back on the TV. There's some real concerns about how that's operated, and mainly I think in the early days it was always about the money. We have pushed out rules across to, or they've actually approached us for certain rules and regulations and how that's applied, and we do have a number of officials that have gone across from England Boxing to support white collar, but we keep that at arm's length. We don't really want anything to do with that because it's not seen as something that's a good thing. You know, there's a lot of danger exposed there. So we, you know, and injuries, some really, really bad injuries to the kids that box.
Is there no regulation put in place by, so I know for Canada, for example, we actually put in interesting that you're from the military, but we put in our Canadian criminal code that there cannot be any unsanctioned, I guess, prize fighting without having obviously a sanctioning body behind it. So you guys don't have that there?
Not at the moment, and that's something that GB Boxing are currently working on at the moment to see how we can eradicate that, particularly after this last episode on a program called Panorama, which tends to delve into bad things, you know, across the world. But it was quite interesting because I was just sat there, finished work, just having my dinner, and it came up on the screen. It was like, oh, well, that'd be interesting to see how that is. I do know some of the officials actually that do operate in the white collar world over here. We've got one guy called Billy Phillips who is actually an Olympic referee, 3-star. He's gone across. So we do have some good officials that support that, which gives you a good feeling. But clearly they don't have the same protocols and principles that we apply. But I know there is some work to try.
Do you guys have protocols? Oh, sorry to cut you off. Do you guys have protocols in place that standards, I guess, for GB, that if you find out an official has done something within that context where you don't have them come back to your roster?
Yeah, absolute no. The minute that we even get a sniff that somebody's been doing anything with white collar boxing, that's them out, gone. Yeah.
That's good. Very good.
Yeah. Goodbye. Yeah, that's it.
That's something that we're I mean, you can't control everything, but you can definitely have standards. And if Olympic boxing, I think that we can speak from the same understanding, I guess, from what we've gone through with Olympic boxing in the past few years. We have to protect the reputation of the sport, right? So making sure that we at least only allow those in who respect the reputation and respect the sport itself is a good way of doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. Interestingly, we're just we're redeveloping a new course, which a referee and judges course. There's we've had a newly appointed there's a new appointment at England Boxing now for a development officer. So he's been doing a lot of research, working with us as officials and regional organisations to put this package together. So that's going to be rolled out as well in the next few weeks. So I'll be glad to share that one with you as well.
Yeah, we'll share what we've got, but it sounds like you guys are a little ahead of us with a lot of these different protocols, which is really great. So definitely, if you can share that, be great. I got another question. Yeah, I got another question in from Matt Standish. He's one of our, I think he's a national level almost. So basically he's wondering, so COVID-19, you guys were a bit of ahead of the curve, it seemed like, in some ways. I'm not sure if you guys are still on lockdown, but when COVID-19 returns, and this is actually a good question because we're trying to develop protocols right now for our officials. Do you guys have anything in place as to what's going to be expected or even a timeline?
As to when we're going to get back boxing again?
Well, no, more just protocols. So hopefully, yeah, if you guys know when you're going to get back boxing, we're just living vicariously through you guys right now. But also if there's going to be personal protective equipment in place, if you guys have developed protocols for that.
Yeah, well, so interestingly, at the moment, in my role within the military, within the physical training role, we've closed down all the gymnasiums, but in the last week, we've had the environmental health analysts out to all our various locations, looking at how we can reinvigorate training, military training. And they're looking at things like the size and scale of the numbers of people coming in. They're looking at the size of individual rooms, they're looking at the size of individual facilities. And we're working on a sort of 50% reduction of manpower coming in to support our training pipeline. Now, the question about physical training, and it's quite difficult because at the moment, we're not using any indoor facilities. So a lot of our training is going to be utilised outside, outdoors. Using the 2 metre social distancing. Well, actually, it's a little bit further. I read an interesting article last week about if you're out running, for example, somebody who's running at 14 kilometers an hour, you're in their slipstream behind. You've got to have a distance of approximately 10 meters behind that person, or the 10 meter radius around that person, to stop any potential infection coming off their body. So if you think about how you apply that to boxing in a combat sport where, if you're in a ring with a boxer, they're never going to get it. You can't even apply the 2 meter distance, social distancing in there. It's really concerning as to when we think that sort of application is going to be applied.
Well, the interesting thing though that I found I actually feel a little behind because there's some countries who've gone back to boxing, right? There's some countries that were never imposed any kind of social distancing maybe, but they never stopped their sport. So if you're talking about the Olympic qualifiers still happening in as early as February and then March maybe for the Americas, how is it fair? I mean, it's not really fair, but we have to figure out something, right? I know I'm not at the helm of that, but if you guys are at the helm of that, are you a little bit worried or concerned about the fact that other countries are already getting an edge on the training aspect and sparring?
Yeah, I know that Rob McCracken, he did an interesting article last week on how he's managing the GB boxers, those that have been selected to represent GB through the qualifiers. I mean, we've already got 2 boxers qualified for the Olympics already. Because they've managed to get to day 3. So we were hoping through the qualifier that we were going to manage the quota, which was, I think, the Friday of that week. So if we managed to get to the Friday of that week for the European qualifier, we could have qualified all our boxers collectively across Europe for the Olympics, but we just didn't get to that point. Yes, I've seen a number of countries now. I think Turkey are doing a great job at the moment in terms of allocating certain venues that are away from the city centres, where they've gone in with their environmental health teams, cleared it out, and they've got all sorts of weird and wonderful gadgets where they're putting out swing fog and other bits and pieces where they're trying to get rid of all this virus in the air, the respiratory stuff are in the air. For me, it's a massive task. It is a massive task. I don't think we can really move forward until we see some sort of vaccine, which again, from what we're saying, is 12 months out at the moment? At least 12 months out, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's the vaccine you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I know we're no experts here, so I was just hoping maybe you guys had answers that that would help
Not
us.
yet.
But I know that we only have you for a little bit of time here, so I'd love to bring it back to the officiating part of things. So I guess as a international ref who has also worked, you worked WSB. Did you work APB as well, or just WSB?
No, WSB, yeah, not
Okay.
APB.
So what was, I'm throwing you just a curveball here. What was the, I guess, most notable thing that comes to mind if someone who's, from either not from the sport or from the sport who says, as a referee, what is the biggest takeaway you've had from any of your experiences? Maybe if you want to share one of the experiences.
Yeah, I think WSB is interesting. It's an interest. I think it's a really good competition. I think it's a 5 3-minute rounds. It's the closest thing to professional boxing as we would get as an amateur. It was exciting. It was fast. It was a competition. Teams moving around the world, and getting that experience as boxers as well. For me, it was interesting to see how our British Lionhearts sending the guys out all over the world and then bringing that experience back and seeing how they develop in the ring as boxers and how they mature and how they grow. I quite like seeing that, not particularly from an official's perspective, because when you get into the ring with these guys, the job, it's not a difficult job. I think it's more difficult when you're dealing with novice boxers, unless you get a really bad scenario of cuts and all of that in the ring. But I think it's just how professional the people are, how what they bring to the party when they're sat around the ring. And we've worked with some great technical delegates who know their stuff, who know the rules inside out, and you can see how that progresses through each stage of the tournament. It was a fantastic experience, particularly from the competition management side. How we applied that, and these are just you. I think when you're you come in early doors as a official at the lowest level, and you're trying to learn the sport, and we look right up there at our officials, and we see them in the ring, and you go, I want to be where that person is. I want to do what they're doing. And I think it's all about gathering as much education as you can. Don't try and rush in there. But to see some of these officials operate at the highest level, for me, and being amongst them, is just fantastic.
Yeah, that's I'm feeling bad for the officials. You know what? Unfortunately, guys, I'm not sure if WSB will come back and you'll be able to ever experience something like that. Hopefully, we'll get something like that again. But as Chris was saying, it was one of the coolest experiences all around, and I really encourage you guys to watch. So it's all online. There was a WSB channel, so some of the top boxers and the boxers you're going to see in the pro very soon, if not already. There's actually a few here in Canada now that came from the Russian team, from the Russian WSB team. So I would encourage you guys to watch that if you have a chance. So I'm going to bring it back one last question to Chris before we're going to close things up here. But as a top level official, and I know that it's always a little nerve wracking as you're going out to the next big competition, especially these competitions that we get assigned to and you've gotten assigned to, especially leading up to the Olympics, are such big competitions. How do you stay sharp, and how do you stay mentally sharp, physically sharp? What's your strategy with all of that?
You've got to keep yourself active. It doesn't matter where you where you're refereeing, where you're judging. You know, try and get in weekly. I mean, I know it's at this particular moment in time through COVID, interesting, but always try and keep sharp. You just got to get yourself into as many bouts as you can, get into as many tournaments as you can. Club shows are great, you know, and I think you do get to a level where you can maybe hop a couple of weeks, but you do tend to lose that sharpness, and it's the eye, and it's not necessarily in the ring, but it's the judging. You mentioned earlier, the judging is key, and that's where you need to hone in on your skills. That's where you need to be sharp. That's where you need to make sure you're focusing and you're watching what's going on in the ring. There's no better place, Jen, as you know, than being sat at the side of the ring, doing what you need to do to support the boxers, but equally to make sure that your skills are sharp. I think it's just a case of getting out there. I think it was Tommy mentioned earlier, making sure that you read the rules every night before you go to bed. Yeah. Read the rules every week. Keep on top of the rules, because if you know the rules inside out, yeah, you can apply those in any situation. And ask questions. Different scenarios, different things have happened to different people. You know, it's about sharing those experiences. Yeah.
That's actually, I think that's the main thing, key thing here for everybody is continuing education. I know that for those of you guys who've been involved with the sport more than 6 years, you've seen rule changes, and it's probably one of the fastest changing sports within the day, within the bout, within the years that you can ever even imagine. Every single time there's a Olympics, it seems like there's a new change in the rules. So keep up to date. I see Savoy here, who's one of the benchmarks in our boxing community here, and I would say in the world, and especially in female boxing, coming back. And since you were an official, or since you're involved with the sport, I think there's been about 3 rule changes, major rule changes. So keeping up to date with these are a really good way of doing that. Chris, I actually do have one question for you, because I know that from the people that I've met through Great Britain Boxing, I've noticed that you guys seem to have a catalog. What do you watch? What kind of bouts do you watch to keep up to date on maybe testing your skills as a judge? Do you watch the bouts that happen during competitions that you might not be assigned to?
Yeah, we so some of our lead officials, and it's a good point actually, Jen, because prior to senior competition, we generally go along to the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield with the GB team, and we've got analysts in there. We've got 4 analysts who look at all the bouts with the team wherever they go across the world, and we sit down and we go through those. We look at those independently. We can ask a number of different questions on what they've seen as analysts, what they're teaching, and how they're developing the boxers. But ultimately, all of these high-end bouts that the GB boxing attend, you can get into any of those down at the English Institute of Sport. So we have regular training sessions down there, and we go in and do, we actually get in with the boxers as well to help them. But I'm a part of this training package over a couple of days, just to see some of that high-end elite boxing is great. And that's part of the developing your skills and making sure you're on top of them.
That's awesome. I think that we're going to have to align ourselves. I know I speak more from the provincial perspective, but because we have such incredible level of boxing coming right here in Ontario, and there's a couple other provinces who have joined us today as well. So I think it's important that we collaborate and share some different materials and share different protocols that we put in place. We'll share what we've got. We're a little bit behind you guys, I think, especially provincially. We're just building them now. But I'd love it if we can start collaborating and kind of combining our materials and seeing if there's something we can come out with. Because this has been really cool, to bring this many people together just for the purpose of learning. This is the first time we've done this, and really we've been trying to get people together, but now that we have access to Zoom and these platforms, you can bring people from across the world together. I think we should be doing more of that. So if you guys have anything where it's open, I think it'd be really cool to collaborate. Like even something like this, we can bring your officials in, and then outside, same kind of thing for you guys.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, definitely.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your experiences. And if you guys have any questions for Chris, or moving forward. Chris is online. He's on, I think, I tried to tag you on Instagram. I'm not sure if you're on Instagram anymore, but definitely on Facebook. He's very active on there. And there's actually some really good, and I'll show you guys where we're at for the next one, but there's some really good resources online. So thank you, Chris. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to close it up. And, yeah, perfect. And I'll catch up with you. I'll catch up with you soon as well. So the final steps, and Tommy, if you have anything you want to add to this, is that being part of this community that we're all talking about. So we're referees and judges. We're in Ontario. We have our own Facebook group. There's some other Facebook groups out there that I know that I'm a part of. I don't know if there's one for Canada. I don't think there is one for Canada, but if there is, let me know. But there is one for referees and judges of AIBA, and I'm sure that all of the AIBA officials here are on that. The other thing is that we want to keep you guys updated with the most recent Boxing Canada and AIBA rules. Those are all up on our website under forms and handouts. So I've actually, forms and documents. The website's a little difficult to navigate, but we are looking to update that very soon. It's been kind of work in progress. The other thing that I just put up there right now is the AIBA Referee Judge Manual. It's about, I want to say 80 pages, and it's got everything right down to the actions and the procedures that you're supposed to take as a referee, even the hand signals. So everything right down to how AIBA wants you to perform. And this isn't just AIBA. I mean, at the end of the day, I know some of the referees and judges here are going to go into the pro. Eventually, this is the framework that you need for whatever level you guys decide to do. The other thing is we want you guys to stay connected through official sessions like this, refresher courses. We are going to be holding an online level 1 course. We're still trying to work out the kinks on that one because it's a little bit different than doing it hands-on. But I actually am very impressed with, I feel like this has been more intimate than doing it at a competition or at a spot where everyone has to kind of get going different places. Your focus is in one spot. So I really do enjoy this. Tommy, is there anything that you wanted to add to that portion? I'm not sure if I've got you, I don't know if I've got you muted again.
Much all of it. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, you pretty much covered all of it. And again, it's just to go back to, you know, at this time, you know, as Chris was saying, you can't, best way to keep yourself trained and up to par is to be at events and training sessions and stuff like that. But obviously we can't do that now. So the best way is through refresher sessions like this or reading the manual. You know, our Facebook group is another good resource. Periodically I put up scenarios and questions in there. And so that's a great way, guys, to keep connected and involved. Even if, you know, if I put something up there, you guys don't think you know the answer, you might give the wrong answer, just give it anyways. And that's a great way just to start a dialogue and kind of, because there's never really a wrong answer. So never, you know, another official could have the same answer that you had, and then if you speak up about it, then they'll be like, "Oh, I had the same answer," but then we can clarify what the right answer is. And so it's just being in communication and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was laughing about that note about there never can be a wrong answer. There actually are wrong answers, but we want to have them here. We want to have them now with each other, with our family, so that we can work out the right ones, so that we've got them when they're needed. I just want to finish off with showing you guys, again, as I mentioned, the Boxing Ontario website is a work in progress, but where you can find the most important thing is under About Us and into Forms and Documents. And then from there, Official Resources. I'm not sure if you can still hear me. I know that there's a bit of an echo happening here.
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit. You're cutting out. You're cutting in and out. So
okay.
Keep talking.
Okay, guys. So I just showed you guys where you can find the resources. I have a feeling that Zoom has decided that this is the end of our meeting today. But thank you guys all for coming. Everything that we have talked about, we'll send you guys a deck. And love seeing you guys. We'll do another one of these focused on refereeing a little bit later on throughout this time, even when we go back to work. And when we go back to boxing, I think this is going to be the way to do it. We'll see you guys later.